Peter Lightbody, Snag, Hampshire. My background is basically in sales. Trade-wise, you go back far enough into the long-distant past. I'm actually a blacksmith by trade. That through the government funding, decided to take the funding purely to allow for cash flow because I had budgeted for really making nothing for the first 2 or 3 months, and worst case scenario, not doing anything for the first 2 or 3 months. So I wanted to make sure I had enough cash flow to carry me through. The process of getting set up was actually quite quick. When I finished the training, I wasn't ready to start right. But what I did do is I started doing a little bit of marketing right away. That brought me in a few jobs. In the first month, we did do, I think, about 1.5 days a week in the first month. I had budgeted for the second month to get that up to days a week, and then the third month, get up to 3 days a week. That was my planning. However, it didn't quite go according to plan. The first month, it was probably about 1.5 to 2 days a week. By the second month, I was up to 4 days a week. And by the third month, I didn't have a day off. In fact, I even worked a few weekends. So it actually went better what my plan or projection had been. And we're now getting regular repeat work. We are now in a couple of national house builders. We're in with a few more regional house builders. We also do work for a couple of hotel chains and a few small builders and local stuff. And surprisingly, we get quite a bit of work from other trades. The training that we did was excellent. Chris did the bulk of the practical training with us, and he's excellent. And he's also always on the end of the phone. So if I get stuck mid-job, it's a quick call to Chris to say, help, how do I do this? John did more of the admin side of it and making sure we were all up to speed with what we had to do. In terms of head office support, basically, if you do have any issues whatsoever, they're always at the end of the phone or the end of an email or WhatsApp. One of the things that we do obviously have to do, if you're coming into a franchise, you need to be the work in. It's down to you to get out there and actually do the business. In terms of the accounting, business setup, etc., it was very good, very well organized. The accountants set up the companies for us. They set up the accounting packages for us. They provided tutorials and training. Really, they're very good because they do all the day-to-day mundane bits for you. All we've got to do really is put the invoices and the bills and things on, and they sort everything else. And in terms of the actual job itself, it's not that physically demanding. It's more almost technical side of it that you need to get your head around. Everyone told us that from the day we started training, the biggest thing you've got to get your head around is colour matching. And that is by far the hardest thing to get your head around. But the actual variety of jobs is very good because you never know what you're going to half the time, particularly on site. One day you can be doing door repairs, worktop repairs, brick repairs. It's very doable. And I think it's the sort of thing that most people with a little bit of DIY experience and the training that's provided, they can get their head around it. In terms of the size of the market is absolutely massive. I don't think even the head office guys have really tapped into half of what's out there. When we're on the training, etc., we concentrate on the national house builders, etc., because that's where a lot of the bread and butter work comes from. But there's lots of other things that I'm looking at which I'm trying to get into. So letting agencies, social housing, council housing, hotel chains, the list just goes on and on. The reason I opted for the Snag Doctor franchise is because it's a multi-van franchise. You've got the ability to grow the business. I wasn't looking for a franchise where it was me on my own in a van doing stuff forevermore. What attracted me to it was the fact that you've got the ability to actually grow the business. I am at a situation now where within the next month to 6 weeks, I'm going to have to start looking for my first technician. So I would envisage getting up to 5 or 6 vans within the 3-year period, at which point I will be able to take a back seat and make it into a management franchise rather than a day-to-day on the van franchise. One of the things that can be a bit daunting for people when they first take on any new business, it takes time for a new business to grow, and you have to be realistic about things. You're not going to go out there unless you're really lucky on day one and suddenly have a full day. The workload overall is pretty much what I expected. You've got to be fairly organised. You need to plan your week. particularly if you haven't got full days. If you're working on new build sites and they book you in for a whole day, there's no planning required. You simply turn up and you're going to be doing. However, there's lots of things, particularly when you start doing customer care work, whereby you'll get small jobs or half-day jobs, and it's then a case of planning them in to maximize your time. It is a franchise that has got legs. There's a lot of franchises out there that, to be honest, are not worth the paper they're on. I looked around at quite a few different franchises before I settled on Snag Doctor, and what attracted me to it was the fact that it has got the marketplaces there. There's plenty of work to go at, and you've got the ability to develop the business.
If you'd like to learn more about starting your own Snag Doctor business, simply click the Request Information button, fill out your details, and we'll be in touch with our extensive prospectus.